Well, good day, everybody. Welcome back. Well, I have a few items that I received in the mail the last few days, so I thought we'd do a really brief mail time. Stay tuned. Well, let's see. The first item that we have comes from Mesa, Arizona. And who do we know in Mesa, Arizona? Could it be our friend Ted Monk? Why, yes, I believe it might be. Let's see what Ted sent me, shall we? Okay, so let's open up Ted's package here. Okay, Well, I've already cut this open, as you can probably tell, but it has the distinctive stamp insignia that Ted always uses. So we have a few interesting items here. First of all, we have a mini CD, and it looks like what's in this mini CD jacket is two CDs. One called Every Single Morning, and the other one is Test SVCD, Episode 10. And, of course, there's a very cool little printed insert here that Ted always does with some very neat artwork. We'll have to look at that later. But wait, there's more. There is a, yes, it looks like, oh yes, with the JVC logo, there is a micro cassette tape in here. This is one of the things that Ted and I have been doing for a while, is doing micro cassette tape recordings. This says RRTM to JVC 2021 10-ish. So this was recorded around October of 2021. I'm looking forward to that. Very cool. Okay. And we have a letter from Ted. I certainly recognize the stationery and the printed header and everything. And yes, we have a little mini CD. Let's see. This is the 2023 Side Yard Airborne Freebasing Explosions in the Sky. Airborne Act 1 and Act 2 freebasing. Oh, that's pretty funny. Okay, this is from a 1982 and 1983 LP. Pauline Anna Strom and Michael Garrison. Okay, this is going to be some very cool stuff. And also Ted does a really good job of the artwork and stamping and little notes like he always does. So I really look forward to reading this. Ted makes his letters so fun. The way he writes and just the style of it, the aesthetics of it. I really enjoy these. Let's see. Oh, he always includes a photograph of the typewriter that he used to type this on. And then there is, oh yes, of course, we have this really thin paper, and it has one of Ted's encrypted messages. This is done with, I think it's the IBM Composer, and he's using the type ball, I think, positioned backwards in the Composer. So it's a simple substitution cipher that Ted has been using for the last few weeks, posting these messages on his blog. So I look forward to working on decoding that and also listening to the audio material that Ted sent me. But there's also something else in here. This is Ted's Everyday Carry Notebook, and he made one for me. So let's look at this, shall we? So the front and back cover are made of this really cool yellowish orange paper, and he has a pencil, mechanical pencil holder built into the opening edge of the front cover, and of course it's color coordinated like you would expect it to be, right? I love Ted's stamp. There is the EDCN stamp, some really cool paper, and he's using these ACO prong fasteners as a stiffener for the cover there. And then he has a little typed letter inserted on the front page, which I'll read later. And then it looks like he's using my favorite newsprint paper for a lot of this, which is very much appreciated. And then, oh, looky here, he has a divider with little tabs here, and there's a little pocket in here for putting little notes, cards, receipts, tickets, or whatever. And then I have some lined paper and some grid paper, two different sizes of grid paper, plus dot grid paper and blank paper at the very end. So, wow, what a fantastic notebook. It's really amazing getting one of these that are handmade by Ted. He's also using these gum reinforcement circles, it looks like, to reinforce the covers for these prong fasteners. And then, of course, not only a stiffener on the back, a cover, but a piece of Yes, a piece of carbon paper, just in case I wanted to write something or type something and make a carbon copy of it for myself. How cool is that? Well, as you guys may know from following along with the prong fastener thing with pocket carry notebooks, you can unbind these very easily, type on these pieces of paper on your typewriter, and then reinsert them if you need to back into your little booklet. I really love this, and it's great having a one-of-a-kind, unique, everyday carry notebook that Ted himself made. So very cool. Thank you, Ted. I'm going to have to get a lot of good use out of this. When I was in high school, back in the early 70s, I was into geodesic domes, inflatable structures, alternative kinds of architectural things, and this is one of the books that I had gotten back in high school. This was by a guy named Ken Isaacs, How to Build Your Own Living Structures. And living structures were this invention of this guy. He was like an artist, architect, engineer guy, and he was making these kinds of things. Like one of these was like an internal to a room or a house, do-it-yourself furniture that's modular that you can make into multi-level structures with seating areas. Like this is like a study area, and you could make one with a bed on top, and here's a different orientation of the same device. You'll notice maybe there is a typewriter in that picture, and it looks like it's a Hermes rocket or baby. Very cool. But anyway, these living structures, I was very interested in this guy, Ken Isaac, and over the period of years, I had lost this book. And finally, my friend Richard found a used copy of this book and sent it to me. This was a few years ago. So I've kind of reacquainted myself with this classic old book of alternative architecture, right? But then just this week, my friend Richard sends me this book. This is by Susan Snodgrass. It was published only a couple years ago, called Inside the Matrix. And this is a review of Ken Isaac's career of making these living structures and other kinds of similar related products and ideas. And this is a very interesting book. It's very nicely printed, and it's fun reading about these alternative architectural ideas that were floating around, very popular in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And these living structures are one of the things that really fascinate me. And one of these days, I really would like to build something like that in my home or in one of my rooms. I really love this kind of illustration here. This is one of his very first illustrations. This was in 1949 he designed this. This is kind of a combination of furniture and a functional interior room structure that you can build, move around, reorganize, etc., etc. So definitely going to be interested in that. Reading that, Inside the Matrix. And then the other book that my friend Richard sent me, this is something that I had been interested in for a while. This is a book on obsolete printing technology, the hectograph, the mimeograph, and spirit duplicators. And I tinkered a little bit with the hectograph. This uses kind of a wax layer with fountain pen ink or dye, and you can make your own copy machine. It's like a real primitive way of making copies. And so this book is like a resource for doing these kinds of technologies. Like there's a section here on the hectograph, multicolored hectographs, and then it talks about mimeograph machines, or what we used to call ditto machines, that use the fluid. And I remember these in high school using these, and this is why you have the stencil setting on your typewriter. Because of things like these, the mimeograph stencils is what they used. And so there's some tips about doing your homemade mimeographs. And then spirit duplicators is also in here. There's actually a reprint of a catalog from 1962 of stencil duplicator machines and accessories. So I think this is really cool. A lot of resources here. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, trying to see if I can tinker around and maybe do some hectographs and whatever other technology I can figure out of this book. So a real resource, a lot of fun. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so another thing I got in the mail was a postcard, and this is a very neat little graphic here. This postcard is very creative. This is the itinerary. Go to the closest park, spend 10 minutes looking at the sky. What do you see? Document yourself standing under a tree, photo, drawing, etc. Arrange something you find into a circle, leaves, stones, etc. Listen number of people you see. Leave something of yours in a secret location. And this was sent to me by Waz. There is his signature, Waz. And Waz is in Albuquerque. He was typing on his Olympia SM3 Deluxe from Nob Hill in Albuquerque. Nice little note thanking me for the videos I've made. I appreciate it, Waz, and look forward to meeting you at the next type-in. Of course, love the stamp. Very cool. It's always fun getting postcards. And, you know, I also got a postcard recently from Maylin Travis also, and she typed on the entire front and half of the backside. So very cool also. Appreciate postcards as always. So here is Maylin's letter. The main side of the card that would be normally like a photograph or picture, she's typed the main part of the letter on it. And then on the reverse side, she has finished up the letter along with the address side. It's really a cool idea to use a small typeface typewriter, and then you can get enough room on a postcard to have a short letter and only pay postcard postage. Very ingenious, Maylin. I appreciate that. Well, we have another letter also from our friend Javier, who lives in Jurupa Valley, Central California. He always sends me some cool letters on airmail envelopes. And, of course, it was really fun reading his letter. He always gives me updates on how he's doing in school. Of course, I love his signature. It's so cool. But he's doing great, and it's great to see kids growing up and continuing to learn to write and everything. And then we have a letter from a local typist in Carrizozo, New Mexico, whose name is Joe. And I really like his little logo here on his return address thing right there. That's so cool. But anyway, Joe sends us a really cool letter, and it is written on really nice paper with some very cool Underwood Leader typewriter 1953 stationery. So that's very cool. Blue ink on the typewritten text here. And the other thing I really liked about Joe's letter, of course, a lot of letter writers are into using old stamps to seal up the letters. And this is another example, such a cool stamp. And that's really inspiring to me, people that go to the trouble of crafting a letter like this and making the envelope so aesthetically pleasing. And you guys might remember last year that I was badly behind in answering my letters, and I had finally caught up completely with my letters sometime last September, October. And now, since then, I have been very bad, and now you can see I'm building up a good backlog of mail that I'm going to have to sit down and answer. Anyways, I have a lot of writing to do, as you can see. I better get busy. Got my Studio 44 ready to go. Well, since now that I'm officially retired, it looks like I have a lot more time to fiddle with this stuff. I'm really looking forward to this audio stuff that Ted sent me, this micro cassette tape, and of course getting into using the Everyday Carry notebook as Ted has envisioned it and built a copy for me. I have a lot of stuff to listen to. I got a lot of things to think about and some crafting to work on, and I want to thank everybody who sent stuff in, and also you guys. Keep sending those cards and letters to each other. Get involved in some letter exchanges and postcard exchanges. If you're a writer, you can do it by hand. You can type them or whatever. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, I wish you guys the very best. Stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.